Hare Krishna.
I'll just wait a moment for a few more to join. If you have camera on your phone or on your computer, it'd be nice to see the faces who are joining in the participation in the discussion. Just makes it more easy to communicate that way. Is anyone here for first time? I can see a few names I haven't seen before. I might have missed them in previous weeks. No? So if you are joining for the first time, I'll just run through the format briefly. We sing the invocation prayer from the introduction of Krishna book, and then we recite one of the principles of good sadhu sangha, and then we begin reading from chapter 12 this week, which is the killing of the demon Aghasura. And we ask for readers to volunteer. So in the group chat, you can see people have listed the number which they want to read. It's nice to always have at least 3 volunteers. If we can have one more, that'd be really nice. Okay, thank you. So I think we're ready to begin. We've got 10 participants, 11 now. So those who just joined, we're going to be reading from chapter 12. I'll just start with the prayer and the introduction. Krishna, 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 Hey. Krishna, 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 Hey. Krishna, 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 Rakshamam. Krishna, 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 Pahimam. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshamam. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Pahimam. So last week we read about the killing of 2 demons, namely Vatsasura, who is a calf, and Bakasura, who assumed the form of a giant bird, a crane. So Kamsa every week is sending demons for us to hear about, and every demon represents a different anartha, or an unwanted quality in our life. So as we read these pastimes, we become freed from these different anarthas. When we meditate on these pastimes, we become purified. And so the reading of a Krishna book has a very profound effect on our consciousness, apart from just being very attractive to our minds and hearts. So anyone would like to ask anything before we start? Any comments or questions? Otherwise, I'll read from the principles of good sadhu sangha. Hare Krishna, Kirtika Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Sorry, I missed the last session, last 2 sessions, because I was traveling. Please tell us what the anartha is for Vatrasura and Bakasura. Sorry.
The anartha for, sorry, cut out a little bit. The anartha for
both
for last week.
The demons.
Yeah. Okay. Does anyone remember? I'll open it out to the group, because there was more than me participating. There's quite a few devotees participating last week. Does anyone remember? What was the anartha which what's the name?
Vatasura and Bakasura. Vatsasura.
Vatsasura, that's it. Vatsasura represents? Does anyone know? I'll have to look in my notes as well, because I'm not too sure. Maybe we can get back to you because I don't recall off the top of my head either.
Okay, Prabhu.
Yeah, so actually I have it here. So Vatsasura, he represents childish mentality, which gives rise to greediness and mischievousness. So he has a greediness is basically what Vatsasura represents, and because of his greed, he becomes mischievous. Yeah, and then Bakasura, he represents like duplicity and deceptive behavior, cunningness, like basically cheating. He represents a cheating attitude. Like hiding the truth, because he was a bird who was hiding in water.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Welcome. Okay, so reading from the Principles of Good Sadhu Sangha, number 13, Principle 13. Ask questions that help you understand the application of what you have understood. So that's a good principle, isn't it? So that basically means you've understood something from what we've read, but then you ask a question about how to apply it in your life. So like we just read, for example, that this one demon represents greediness. Then how do we read that pastime and then apply the becoming free from greediness in our life? That should be part of the discussions and the comments and questions as well. So this is Principle 13 of Good Sadhu Sangha. Okay, so with that, we'll now begin from chapter 12 and hand over to Jai Prakash Prabhu, who can read us through that.
Haribol, chapter 12, the killing of the Agasura demon. Once the Lord desired to go early in the morning with all his cowherd boyfriends to the forest, where they were to assemble together and take lunch. As soon as he got up from bed, he blew his buffalo horn bugle and called all his friends together. Keeping the cars before them, they started for the forest in great procession. In this way, Lord Krishna assembled thousands of his boyfriends. They were each equipped with a stick, flute, and a horn, as well as a lunch bag, and each of them were taking care of thousands of cows. All the boys appeared very jolly and happy in their excursion. Each and every one of them, including Krishna, was attentive to his personal cows, so he herded them in different places in the forest. The boys were fully decorated with various kinds of golden ornaments. Yet out of sporting propensity, they began to pick up flowers, leaves, twigs, peacock feathers, and red clay from different places in the forest and further decorate themselves in different ways. While passing through the forest, one boy stole another boy's lunch package and passed it to the third, and when the boy whose lunch package was stolen came to know of it, he tried to take it back, but the boy who had it threw it to another boy. The sportive playing went on amongst the boys as childhood pastimes.
Thank you, Prabhu. So I picked a few things from here I was reflecting on. Does anyone else want to go first there? Otherwise, I usually take all the points that other people want to say, which isn't very nice, is it?
One thing I picked up was, despite having precious ornaments, they sort of prefer to have like the natural, beautiful sort of things around like flowers, leaves, twigs, peacock feathers, etc. So, you know, they were not materially attached to the decorations that they were wearing. They still wanted something which was more natural.
That's very nice, yeah. So two things about that, yeah. So they, not only they were already opulently dressed, but then they also had a preference to very natural items, yeah. And they were not attached. Yeah, it's a very nice point. Thank you, Paul. Someone else?
Also on the same point about dressing up, maybe his friends wanted to dress up Krishna like we dress up Radha Rasbihari. We like to dress him up. So they also want to dress him up. So that's the bhava that's coming out probably.
Yeah, yeah. That's a nice point also. So not only they were dressing themselves up, but they appreciated that Krishna was dressing in different ways. And they were adding to that, they were adding to his beauty, yeah, by adding different ornaments and things to him. So I like this point right at the beginning, made that Krishna would wake up very early in the morning. He was ready to go early in the morning. So I was thinking this is quite practical for our lives. Our temple program, what is the temple program based on? It's actually based on Krishna's lifestyle. The temple morning program is based on Krishna's lifestyle. It's preparing us to enter the lifestyle of Krishna. And what time does the temple morning program start? It may vary from place to place.
4:30 most of the time.
Yeah, most temples is 4:30 in the morning. Early morning, right? And Krishna wakes up 4:30 in the morning, and of course he brushes his teeth and gets ready, and he has Mangalarti sweets first thing in the morning. Very nice way to start the day, isn't it? I know there are some devotees, I don't want to name any names, there's some devotees who enjoy going to the Mangalarti very much because they get the Mangalarti sweets that they choose. You know, and I don't know if you've been for Mangalarti at Bhaktivedanta Mana, but they have these special Mangalarti sweets, which are hand painted, decorated with different various symbols like the conch or lotus or peacock feather or flute. So this was something that a devotee named Mother Kulangana, she was a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, she became very famous for making Mangalarti.
Is it?
No, this was a speciality in Bhaktivedanta.
Okay, yeah.
And many sannyasis, even when they would travel to the UK, even they would like, you know, greatly appreciate getting these Mangalarti sweets. At least I know my spiritual master, Jayapataka Swami, he had certain dietary requirements, and Mother Kulangana, she would make those sweets just according to his particular diet, which is sometimes is very difficult to get, you know, if you have certain dietary restriction to get nice sweets. So anyway, I was coming to the point of waking up early. So this morning program is based on the program which Krishna has, waking up and seeing Krishna first thing in the morning. So this is how the boys, they would wake up very early in the morning because they were really eager to see Krishna. They would be enthusiastic to go to Mangal Aarti, let's say, or let's say they were eager to go and see Krishna first thing in the morning. And like Kirtika Mataji said that, you know, they could even have that approach that they would dress up Krishna in his different ornaments and things like that. So that was something that was interesting for me, waking up early in the morning. And it's mentioned here that then they would have these lunch packs made ready for them that they would take out. And just an additional detail on that was Jiva Goswami, he explains that this was actually their breakfast meal. They would take in like a lunch box, what we call a lunch box, isn't it? Or a lunch pack, as Prabhupada puts it. So that was actually their breakfast meal. Because as we read in the previous chapters, Mother Yashoda or Mother Rohini would come and call Krishna for his lunch, isn't it? So this was their breakfast that they would take with them, and they would pack that with them and take it. So then what did they do with those lunch packs? It's mentioned here. How did they play?
Like pass the parcel.
Yeah. Some more description on that? I think Madhvi Mataji is trying to say something, but your microphone's not working, Mataji. It's not on mute. The mute is off, but there's no sound coming through. Pretty?
Yeah, it's like they're playing almost like piggy in the middle, like teasing whoever lunchbox they took away.
Yeah, they're teasing each other as well. Yeah.
Mm.
So I know going to Mangalarti, when someone gets a sweet that you like, they show it off in front of your face. So yeah, they were basically taking each other's lunch boxes like naughty kids and throwing it around. And they would even take each other's sticks and flutes and bugles. And then, you know, in that way they would pass around, pass the parcel. And the boy would have to run after his breakfast. So this is the sportive play that's mentioned here. Okay. Unfortunately, we couldn't hear Madhvi Mataji, so maybe she's going to reconnect. But let's continue, and then we can come back to when she comes back online.
When Lord Krishna went ahead to a distant place in order to see some specific scenery, the boys behind him ran to try to catch up and be the first to touch him. So there was great competition. One would say, I will go there and touch Krishna, and another would say, oh, you cannot go, I'll touch Krishna first. Some of them played on their flutes or vibrated bugles made of buffalo horn. Some of them gladly followed the peacocks and imitated the onomatopoetic sounds of the cuckoo. While the birds were flying in the sky, the boys ran after the birds' shadows along the ground and tried to follow their exact courses. Some of them went to the monkeys and silently sat down by them, and some of them imitated the dancing of the peacocks. Some of them caught monkeys by the tail and played with them. When the monkeys jumped into the tree, the boys followed. When a monkey showed his face and teeth, a boy imitated and showed his teeth to the monkey. Some of the boys played with the frogs on the bank of the Yamuna, and when out of fear the frogs jumped into the water, the boys immediately dove in after them, and they would come out of the water when they saw their own shadows and stand imitating, making caricatures and laughing. They would also go to an empty well and make loud sounds, and when the echo came back, they would call it ill names and laugh.
There's no shortage of fun, huh, that these boys had. They don't like to. Oh, Madhvi Mataji is back. Hare Krishna, Mataji. You're on mute now. Unfortunately, we still can't hear you. I'm not sure what to suggest. Maybe your computer itself has the microphone on-off setting. Maybe it's not from Zoom, but it may be on the computer. So let's have a look at this paragraph now. Does anyone have any comments on this one? Questions? So there's a competition that's happening, right? What's that competition? So one thing is they were stealing each other's lunch boxes. Once they're done with that, then they have a competition.
Competition of who would touch Krishna first?
Yeah, that's right. So there's some interesting information given by Jiva Goswami, who's meditating on these pastimes. So for those of you who don't know, Jiva Goswami, he's one of the 6 principal Goswamis, one of the 6 principal Vaishnavas or Gurus of Vrindavan in our line, Gaudiya Vaishnav line. He was in his meditation on this pastime, he's explaining how these boys are running behind Krishna in the way that a bumblebee follows the fragrance of a very fragrant flower. So the boys are all running behind that beautiful fragrance of Krishna, because it's a very big forest area and they don't all necessarily see Krishna. Because it says in the beginning of the paragraph, Krishna went to a distant place. So they couldn't necessarily see him, but from his fragrance, he was so beautiful, they would run behind that. And then when they saw Krishna, then they, it increased their speed and enthusiasm. Because this is the nature of boys, they're interested, the boys, they like speed and you know how children are, they like fast, small boys, they like fast cars, even big boys, fast cars. So this was the play, and they were playing like a bee chasing after fragrant flower. Then there's a certain mood that comes with that, which Jiva Goswami explains. How did they feel about catching Krishna? Is it mentioned here? It's not actually mentioned here, but can you imagine like how that competition, that competitive mood was? When you win a competition, how do you feel?
You feel great. Yeah.
Feel great. Yeah. So that was their competition, that they would catch Krishna. They would feel very great or even proud, You feel very proud and pleased with yourself that you've won a competition. So in the spiritual world, this is the competition. Who can be close to Krishna? Who can catch Krishna? And so that would be the pride of the Gopas. As Jiva Goswami explains. This was their pride to catch Krishna, to be able to reach Krishna. Of course, that is only by Krishna's mercy. And then I think last week we discussed some of these other types of play. So the boys who are imitating the animals, isn't it? Does anyone remember that? Yeah. So we discussed that also last week, or maybe it was the week before. Does anyone else want to comment or question on this section? So why is it okay to be proud? The boys were very proud. Sometimes or even if we just read about some of these demons, many of them demons were also proud, weren't they, with their different positions? So we could ask that question, why is it okay that the boys are proud? What thoughts do you have on that?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Is there a different sort of a proudness?
Yeah. And why is that?
Could be proud as in lovingly proud. When you have loving feelings towards somebody. Or you could be proud as, oh, I know everything and I'm better than you. Proud.
Yeah.
These boys have the lovingly kind of proudness.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
That's a nice point, yeah. So pride based on love and affection, that someone who's so wonderful as Krishna, I can be so close to him. That's like my greatest pride. Yeah. Or there could be like pride with enmity. What does everyone else think? Does it make sense? Yeah. Or anyone else have another idea? Can I add to that? That's kind of what I was thinking too. Yeah. So we can also have that, we can also be very proud that we are part of such a glorious movement as ISKCON, You know, we have a glorious spiritual master like Srila Prabhupada. So we want to be proud in that sense, in a positive way, in a way that encourages us and inspires us in our spiritual practice. Or in fact, it makes our spiritual master proud. We want to have that kind of pride, you know. But we don't want to be proud in the sense that displeases the spiritual master. That pride that kind of sets us apart from everyone else, puts us on a pedestal, you know, puts us in a high position. Not that kind of pride. But pride in connection because of that person who we're very affectionate towards. Because that person is so great, therefore I'm very fortunate because I'm near them. Is that okay? So that type of pride, let's say, that can inspire one in spiritual life. So Prabhu, would you like to continue, please?
Yeah. As stated personally by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the Bhagavad Gita, he is realized proportionately by transcendentalists as Brahman, Paramatma, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here, in confirmation of the same statement, Lord Krishna, who awards the impersonalists the pleasure of Brahman realization by his bodily effulgence, also gives pleasure to the devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, those who are under the spell of the external energy Maya. Take him only as a beautiful child, yet he gave his full transcendental pleasure to the cowherd boys who played with him. Only after accumulating heaps of pious activities were those boys promoted to personally associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Hare Krishna? Can you hear me? Sorry. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we can help. Thanks. Thank
Who
you.
can estimate the transcendental fortune of the residents of Vrindavan? They were personally seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. He whom many yogis cannot find even after undergoing severe austerities, although he is sitting within their hearts, this is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. One may search for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, through the pages of Veda and Upanishads, but it's difficult to find him there. However, one who is fortunate enough to associate with a devotee can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. After accumulating pious activities in many previous lives, the cowherd boys were seeing Krishna face to face and playing with him as friends. They could not understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they were playing as intimate friends with intense love for him.
So here we is bringing in some of the philosophy of Krishna consciousness in relation to the play of the boys. So I feel like this kind of supports some of what we were discussing just now about the boys in their relationship to Krishna, right? So does anyone have any thoughts on that and what's being brought out here?
So I'll attempt. So what is being brought out over here, maybe, and as Prabhuji was reading, I was questioning in my mind, did the Gopas knew that this was Lord Krishna, and or they thought he was one of them, or they thought he was just an ordinary cowherd as them. And then it goes further to explain us, like we have the Paramatma in us, and similarly, we need somebody to tell us or to make us realize that the Paramatma is with you, and you can see him face to face, but you need to recognize him. So, and then this is quoted in the Brahma Samhita.
Okay, so two questions. One is, did the boys know that Krishna is the Supreme Lord? And secondly, so how you could rephrase that is, do we acknowledge that Paramatma is in our heart? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, Prabhu.
All right. Feel free if anyone wants to comment on that. Did the boys know that Krishna is the Supreme Lord as they were playing with him?
I think they knew that Krishna was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but then Maya kind of just came in and she covered it because they were in Vrindavan at the time. So then they don't know because they're kind of still on the earth. That's why. So I think basically they knew before, but then Maya just took that away from them, kind of.
Okay.
That's what I think, but I don't know if it's right.
Could be the case. Of course, every boy is an individual. He's an individual soul. Some of the boys, they were joining the pastimes. They were coming from the material world, and they were joining the pastimes of Krishna. Yeah. And there were other boys who were already in the spiritual world, and they were following Krishna in his pastimes wherever he went. Because as it said here, in the first paragraph actually, there were thousands and thousands of boys. It doesn't mention the exact number. So there were many thousands of boys. It's mentioned, maybe it's in the first paragraph. Yeah, does anyone else have any thoughts on that?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Is that Smita Mataji? Okay.
So these boys are actually they're the ones that come with Krishna. They're personally associates of Krishna, because Krishna brings them other people personally. Like, sorry, I'm not making myself clear.
I understand. So you're saying that Krishna brings friends with him.
Yeah, so that he's brought them to deal with the pastime. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So there's one group of boys who will be coming with Krishna from the sea. Yes.
Prabhu, will he be bringing all these 1,000 boys or some of them? Because I thought he brought 5, the Panch Tattva, with him always wherever he went. So Radharani, Balram or Nityananda and Brahma and Narada. But does he bring so many others as well?
Yeah, there can be thousands of them. Yeah. And even then, there's another category. So then there's also the Devas, because in the beginning, Krishna said that all of you will be born in the Yadu dynasty. So they're coming not from the spiritual world, but they're coming from the heavenly planets to play in Krishna's pastimes, either as boys or as Krishna's sons in the Dwarka Leela, or otherwise in other roles in different rasas with Krishna. So many of them will come from the spiritual world. Some will come from the higher planets. Some will come from other planets. Like that. Yeah. My understanding was, whether these boys knew that Krishna is God, is as Prabhupada says, and I'm just taking from the last sentence in this paragraph, they could not understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they were playing as intimate friends with intense love for him. So Prabhupada here states that they didn't know in this particular sentence. Because, and he explains for earlier on, because they acquired the verses Krita Krita Punya, they mounted masses and masses of pious activities. It says here actually, only after accumulating heaps of pious activities were those boys promoted to personally associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So promoted means that they were in the material world, and because of doing so much spiritual activity, they gradually, Krishna picked them up into his pastimes. And what was that? The qualification that they had? They have that intense love for Krishna. So it wasn't so much like they were sitting and doing yagyas and things like that, but the intense love to serve Krishna was what amounted to so many pious activities. So I asked one sannyasi about this not too long ago, early in the summer, and because I just found it interesting. Like, did they just do pious? Did they just do good karma, as it said here? But he told me that his answer, and I may not remember exactly the quote, but I can find out. He said that the practices that we have in Krishna consciousness, spiritual practice, they're not karma, they're not karma kanda, they're not karma kanda. That even like something as simple as taking prasadam is like performing thousands of yagyas, you know, he was saying. So we don't think of it like that. We don't think that if we cook for Krishna, we're cooking out of love, we're cooking for Krishna, but of course we will eat the food. We're thinking, I'm going to make this today and then I'll offer it to Krishna so that I can eat. But if we cook that in the mood that, you know, I'm going to make an offering to Krishna, even in Bhagavad Gita, it's said that offering food is a yagya. Yagya sista sinashanto, it says in the chapter 5. That is actually a yagya, that cooking and offering to Krishna. And by offering that to Krishna and then eating the remnants of the sacrifice or eating prasadam is like performing thousands of ordinary yagyas, karma kanda yagyas. So like that, he gave me this example, Maharaj, that you can accumulate heaps of pious activity just by doing Krishna conscious activity, just by eating, if you put it that way. So they didn't know Krishna was the Supreme Lord, but just like in a group of, if you have a group of friends, like you can think about your groups of friends, or if you've observed like in society, there's usually like a leader, isn't there, in a group of friends, right? There's usually someone who makes things happen, right? There's usually someone who just kind of takes charge a little bit more. So Krishna was like that, you know, he was kind of like the leader of his friends. They all knew that he was the most special, the most wonderful one of them all. Although they were all very much like him, still that there was always that feature that Krishna was that extra little bit special. So that's going to be brought out actually in this pastime, as we're going to see very shortly.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I also pick up one thing from this paragraph is it says that one may search for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, through the pages of the Vedas and Upanishads. But if one is fortunate enough to associate with the devotees, he can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face.
Yes, because Srila Prabhupada is talking about different processes of attaining Krishna. So some processes are slower, some processes are faster. According to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he says that sadhu sangha, sadhu sadhu. So sorry, he's giving a quote that sadhu sangha, sarva shastra hai, sadhu sangha. Probably, had you not been a devotee, then your whole leg should have been chopped off. But Krishna has reduced, he's minimized your karma to just a small token of what you could have got. So in that way, we have enough karma to keep us going in this life. Because if Krishna just took everything away and we were sitting cozy in this lifetime, it wouldn't give us the impetus to go back to Godhead, which is really our home, isn't it? Isn't it? We don't really want to stay in this world, do we? Huh?
No.
That's not a bad thing. So therefore we should see it. That's Krishna's mercy also. We should be confident. That's Krishna's mercy. Is that okay?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a very high level of confidence. That's the kind of confidence we should aspire for.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, my understanding is as we have a bank account in a material platform, material life, we have also account in a spiritually.
Yeah.
And it's always plus and minus. So as we go on, keep on doing devotional service, that's burning our some bad karma or reaction of the bad karma as we go along. Not all at once, depends how much devotional service we do and how we do as well.
Okay, yeah, that's a nice point. Did everyone understand that one? Yeah? You have different bank accounts. You have a current account, a savings account, a loan account, isn't it?
So as we have a bank account and we deposit the money and we take it out, so similarly, on a spiritual account, we deposit, we do deposit by doing devotional service.
Mm.
Yeah, and spiritual bank account comes with us for the next life over.
Yeah, very good. Good point, that one. Yeah, spiritual account, it stays with us. It's an eternal account. Huh? So just think, we've got so many years to live in this life, isn't it? We've all got, it could be 1 year, it could be 100, it could be 50 years, it could be who knows. We've all got some time remaining in this life, this given life. And if we really want to make the most of it, we should try and put as much in our spiritual account now. While we know about Krishna in this life, we should try and maximize what we put in that account. Because at the end of life, that's going to stay with us. It's like an eternal savings account. So in the beginning of the first paragraph you read, what does everyone think? Who thinks that? Okay, I see one hand there. Anyone else? Don't worry about being right or wrong. No one's going to punish you. It's an open group. We can all just contribute freely. Yeah. My understanding was that he's actually a yogi. He's a very, very powerful yogi, because Prabhupada is speaking about how he has these siddhis. Has everyone heard that term before? Siddhi? Yeah. Siddhi means like a yogic perfection. So he had the one particular perfection that he could make himself huge. And he also could change his form. He was like a shapeshifter. He could change his form. So by yogic power, this is actually possible. In the modern day, this kind of yogic power isn't available because people can't do that type of austerity. But it's a fact that by yogic power, you can transform yourself in different ways, because the soul is the self and the body is actually just a combination of material elements. So the yogis, they were able to transform those material elements. They could expand them or subtract them and do other various things. And in that way, it would seem that they are not who they were really. So he comes in a family of yogis because, of course, Putana had the same ability. She could make herself look very beautiful, even though when she was killed, she again resumed that horrible witch-like form. And the same way, Aghasura, he could make himself into a snake, but he again had that ordinary rupa that he had, that original form that he had, the yoga rupa that he had. So what's interesting here is that, so first of all, he's a yogi, but he isn't a yogi in the sense that he's trying to connect to Krishna, he's trying to be a devotee, or he's trying to do something good with his yogic power. He's using his yogic power, as we see with many demons, to try and amass that power and become more powerful in this world, become the lord of this world. Become very powerful and control and enjoy in this world. And there was other things which, so that requires a lot of tapasya, So it's nice to reflect actually. How do we do tapasya in our own life? Do we tapasya means like austerity, or do we take on hardship so much for ourselves so we can have a better position for ourselves, or do we take on tapasya, or do we take on hardship so that we can help other people or serve Krishna? So some of these demons, they basically are like the personification of selfishness, envy and greed, and these demons like are the personification of these qualities, because they can actually have so much determination to become self-centered and to become self-indulgent, isn't it? To the point that they become perfect in these different siddhis and things. But still that motivation is very selfish. And it's interesting, like it's mentioned that he even would do, because now is Shraddha month is coming, isn't it? Shraddha. Yeah?
Yep.
He was even doing Shraddha. We read in the previous paragraph. He was even doing Shraddha. So we think that if we do Shraddha, that's a very good thing. Of course it is. It's recommended that devotees should also do Shraddha. For forefathers, it's giving pinda to forefathers. So even he was doing that, but that didn't necessarily make him a good person just because he was following these Vedic formulas. Whereas the coward boys, on the other hand, we said many times, they have that krita punya. They had so many pious activities just simply because they were serving Krishna. You see the contrast there, that he was a great yogi, he had great sense control, great determination, he performed these religious activities like Pindadan and Shraddha, but his mentality was completely selfish. Whereas on the other hand, these boys, they were playing with Krishna, stealing each other's lunch boxes and so on. But it was all in Krishna consciousness. It was all to increase the pleasure for Krishna, to create an atmosphere which is pleasing to Krishna's, whatever mood he was in, whatever Krishna wanted. So any thoughts on that? Or anything else for here in these paragraphs we read? Smita Mataji.
So really, if you just love Krishna and serve him unconditionally, he will take care of everything else for you. You don't have to do Shraddha or anything else, because Krishna's just going to look after not just you, but your forefathers as well. Do you agree with that?
Yes, so we should try to, there's this...
So that again, the love is going to be completely pure, not somebody like me. It would be somebody with a very high standard, like Srila Prabhupada. Now, had he just, so he really didn't need to do anything for anybody, because Krishna would have taken care of him completely, because he was a different soul altogether.
Yes, that's also true. Yeah, so there are different levels on which we are Krishna conscious, and they're different, and because of the attachment that we have for Krishna, the affection that and love we have and service that we have to Krishna is different. There's at different degrees for each and every one of us. So for someone who's 100% surrendered to Krishna, they actually already know what they should be doing, what's going to please Krishna right now in this moment. They know moment by moment what I'm doing is going to please Krishna. They have that confidence. Yeah, so that's one thing. And then for the rest of us, there has to be so much guidance in life before taking any particular decisions, any key decisions, or the way that we shape our life should be under guidance. So we're hearing from Madhvi Mataji and Satyanarayan Prabhu here, how they're guiding devotees in the spiritual life. So that's really a very essential thing. And such guidance will help us to understand how we can do Shraddha in the right mood, or other activities for that matter. Actually, we offer we may prepare items for Krishna. We make food for Krishna, and then we offer that in Shraddha to the forefathers, because then they're getting Krishna Prasad, they're getting Vishnu Prasad. That takes them to Krishna. But if you offer only ordinary food, then they go to what is the name of that place where the ancestors go? There's also a planet in the material world for the ancestors.
Pitrulok.
Pitrulok, sorry, yeah, that's right. So we can help them. We have to just do the same thing. It's not we do something different. But if we don't do in Krishna consciousness, then our ancestors, they enjoy in this heavenly place, Pitruloka. But if we do in Krishna consciousness, the same Shraddha ceremony, just by offering the Pinda to Krishna first, then they go to Vaikuntha. What a big difference that is.
Yeah.
So there's not. So spiritual life isn't actually doing different things. It's doing the same things, but in a different consciousness.
Can I share something about we do Pindadan to our forefathers? Actually, we are helping them, but actually we are not helping them because we owe them. Because they may have done a lot of pious activities, and we are benefiting in our this life because of them. So we owe them actually.
Yes.
So it's our duty to do it. It's not we are favoring them, you know. We're doing this in favor of them. It's our duty to do that. And that's why Lord Ram did it as well.
Yeah, very important point, distinction.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not that we're actually indebted.
So if we don't do it, then we are still in debt. We owe them.
Yeah. So we're very much in debt, not only to forefathers, but there are 5, what's it called? Panch Mahayagya, I believe it's called. There are 5 ways we're in debt.
Yeah.
Of course, this is like a big topic in itself, and I'm just conscious we've got a few minutes left. But we can perform all of these activities. It's not that we have to do a different activity, but we can do the same thing, but in Krishna consciousness. That will make it perfect. So one is giving to the forefathers, so we can give them grain or we can give them Krishna Prasad. So same thing, but different consciousness.
And as Srila Prabhupada has mentioned, if we do perfection or if we become good Krishna conscious person, automatically they benefit as well. How many, like, is it 7 generation or whatever?
13 generation.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's an example in that connection that Srila Prabhupada says, Prahlad Maharaj, he was pure devotee of Krishna, but he acted in an exemplary way which we can follow.
Yeah.
He became a devotee of Krishna himself. He made it sure that that was going to be his determination in life. Use his time to become Krishna conscious. On the other hand, his father and his forefathers were not devotees.
No.
In fact, they were the greatest demons, the greatest atheists. And then when his father was killed, actually by the hands of the Lord, his only benediction, his only wish from Krishna was that you give my father a better destination than what he deserved. So because he was killed by Krishna anyway, by Nrsimhadev, he killed Hiranyakashipu, the father of Prahlad, then he anyways was liberated. But because of that incident, then, because Nrsimhadev had to give something, he had to give some benediction, and Prahlad only wanted that his forefather was to be delivered, his father was to be delivered from his sinful actions. Nrsimhadev benedicted him that we will deliver. Sometimes it said 21 generations, or what did you say? 9 or 11?
13.
13.
13 we said, but up to 21 it can be. For a lady, married lady, it says 21 generation because it includes both side of generation. She's
both sides of the family.
Yeah, she does that. Men can only deliver one side of the family. But the wife can.
Power of lady.
Yeah, because woman comes to boy's family.
Yes.
And then she has to do for benefit for both sides.
So you see, this is the benediction, that by becoming a devotee oneself, then one ultimately benefits the whole lineage, all the so many generations which one comes.
Because we had this opportunity because we traveled for yatra with our Guru Maharaj, and we went to Gaya, and there our Guru Maharaj made us do it. So night before he said, all of you make the list of your forefathers and everybody in your family. Then he told us,
and when ceremony is going on, you remember
both sides,
them.
so your side and that side. That's how I knew it, that yes, ladies have delivers both sides of forefathers.
Okay.
So
yeah, so that's the thing, that devotees do perform various ceremonies. And in fact, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also went to Vishnu Gaya, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
right. He performed the shraddha for his father.
We should go. They say at least once.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
and
this is actually the center of where the shraddha is done. Yeah. Vishnu Gaya. There is the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. His footprints are there.
We went there in 89, isn't it? 89 we did the Vrindavan for everybody.
One thing is always confused me. Prahlad Maharaj was a devotee in his previous life, right?
Yes.
So
how come he took birth in a demon's family?
Some relations, so he has to.
Someone gave me the answer to this.
Yeah.
A little bit off the topic, but I could answer it if you're okay. Everyone's okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did Prahlad Maharaj, who is a Nitya Siddha, he's a pure devotee, how did he become the son of a demon? Huh?
Yeah.
So it was explained to me by Bhakti Vishram Madhava Swami. He's an ardent devotee of Tulsi Maharani. If anybody knows him. He lives in Vrindavan for many years. And he explained to me that he got this birth as a demon because he offered a tulsi leaf to Vishnu without washing it. Can you imagine? Such a small thing. He was a very pure devotee, but the more pure you are, then the more pure your intention have to be. His reaction was quite severe, no? That he just didn't wash the tulsi leaf before he put it on the offering plate. Small thing. So this is how, dear Tulsi Maharani is to Krishna, he was saying. Because he's very much ardent devotee of Tulsi Maharani.
Right.
That's what was the reason he gave for. Then in the next life he became a demon.
But that's quite heavy, isn't it? It's just for that mistake. It's quite heavy.
But he didn't lose, isn't it? He didn't lose.
He didn't lose, yeah.
Because he was always remembering Krishna. So he was already a pure devotee. And in that way, we can see so many times Krishna, he puts his pure devotees in these situations to teach us. Just like there's no better example than the Pandavas. Huh?
Yeah.
That moment after moment, every situation was a situation of difficulty throughout their life. And in the pastime, I'm reading what's the 7th canto now. At the end of that canto, just after the Nrsimhadev pastime, then because this pastime is told by Narad Muni to Yudhishthir, he's actually the one who's telling the pastime of Nrsingadev to Yudhishthir. And then he says that, so in your life, Krishna was personally present at every moment of difficulty. In Prahlad Maharaj's life, Nrsingadev only came at the time he was most needed, you know, the very end point, you know. But in the life of the Pandavas, Krishna kept coming back and back again and again, like, you know, constantly guiding them. So it's like that.
But positive side is Prahlad Maharaj has to go through lot of what do you call it, difficulties, but he was not affected.
Yeah. So we're up to time now. So much more to discuss in this chapter, so we'll continue next week. All right. Does anyone have any final questions, any burning questions which we didn't get a chance to ask, or any comments you wanted to make? Just give one last opportunity.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I just want to say thanks for this bit about Aghasura. Like you said, that even though he does the Shraddh, it still doesn't make him a good person, because this Pitru, this water giving ceremony stuff that just went recently, there was like a few, me and some other people were discussing it. So it was nice to see this in this story here, even if it was just brief or one sentence somewhere. So that's just something else to talk about in another discussion somewhere. But even with this Prahlad Maharaj, even though he wasn't affected or anything, his other thing that he got was like, we all remember him, you know, like he gets praised. Yeah, I mean, in a nice way kind of stuff, he gets remembered. So even if he did get punished, it was quite harsh, just hearing all of that. But then when you think about it, there was that stuff where you'll always be glorified as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. He's a Nitya Siddha, so his position is like fixed. You know, he's an eternal devotee of Krishna. So like we were talking about in the beginning, he always comes with Nrsingadev in his pastimes. Wherever he performs them, whichever universe his pastime is happening, there will always be Prahlad Maharaj right there. And he's so much glorified in the Bhagavatam and elsewhere. In fact, Nrsingadev, he hardly ever speaks, right? In the whole pastime, he hardly says anything. The whole pastime is about the devotee, actually. It's all about Prahlad Maharaj, isn't it? So therefore, you know, he has that special position. Yeah.
One thing I wanted to mention earlier on, but you could not hear us at that time. We had some problem. In the first paragraph, it says here, each of them, means each cow man, was taking care of thousands of cows.
Yes.
So they, even though having all this fun, but they always remembered their duty, isn't it?
Yeah. That's right. So there were thousands of boys with thousands of calves.
Yeah. And they were taking care of them.
Yeah. And this at this point, it can be deduced, let's say, that Krishna is around the age of 5 years old only. So Krishna at age of 5 years old, because this is his Kumar Leela. This is still not even his Poganda Leela. This means he's still only 5 years old. He was looking after thousands of calves, little baby calves, you know. So over the last few chapters, we've been reading about how Krishna's started to look after calves, and then now progressively he's still looking after calves. So you can extrapolate that for a year or so, from say at least 4 years old to 5 to 6 years old, he's looking after calves, thousands of calves, such a young age.
That's why we celebrate Gopashtami. That was the first day for Krishna to take cows to the field. Take it.
I thought about that as well, actually, but I found there's actually a point mentioned later when he starts to look after the cows.
Okay.
And when he looks after the cows, that's when the Gopashtami is observed. So we'll read that in the coming chapters.
Mm.
The cows.
So here is just the calves, the baby cows.
With the cows. This is we talk about.
We're quite a bit over time now.
Yeah.
And everyone's really enjoying this discussion, it seems. We're going to have to end here. I hope that's okay for everyone. And there's so much to look forward to next week. I hope you can all join us. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Yay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Another wonderful session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.